Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalica and you're totally gonna be a love guru after watching this video. I, 33 female, keep getting steamrolled by visitors to my house. TLDR, visitors to my home keep ignoring my specific instructions to not do things. Is this just how older people visiting are, or how can I be more assertive? My boyfriend, 36 male, and I, 33 female, bought an older house 4 years ago near a town where we moved. We're from 2 different countries, and we're living in another one. When we have visitors, they have to stay a while because it takes a while and a bit of money to get here. I'm running into a recurring problem when we have older visitors coming from both our families. The house we bought is not perfect and it needs some work, but it's perfectly livable. We know we have some large expensive chunks of renovation that will just have to be done, new roof and better insulation, and we've been saving up for these. There are other problems that are small or more cosmetic that would cost some money to fix, but we chose to set these aside while saving up for the rest. My issue is that when older visitors come, and it's only older people, they decide to go off and fix my house even when I ask them not to. Example 1. Boyfriend's parents come over for a visit. There was some ivy growing on a wall outside that would need a trim within a couple of months. However, our ladder is broken, and my boyfriend knows he can get a ladder from his work in a couple of weeks. My father-in-law decides he's going to trim the ivy, and I explain to him that we don't have a safe ladder to do so, and I'll get to it in a couple of weeks. I leave him alone a few minutes to take a shower, and come back outside to find him having built a completely unsafe table to stand on to reach the top of the ivy and trim it, like even less safe than the broken ladder. I asked him 5 times to come down because I could see the structure wobbling and I was terrified he'd fall and get hurt. He ignored me, and when he eventually came down he smiled and said, "See, nothing happened." I was furious. I told him I was angry at him, and even that didn't get through to him. Example 2. My dad visits with my aunt and uncle. One of the small issues with the house is that the water pressure isn't great. I know the cause, and I know it will take a plumber to have it fixed. We need to replace some pipes that are placed in a way that we need a professional. It's actually not a big bother. Just don't do the dishes at the same time someone takes a shower and no one even notices the problem. My dad and uncle decide they want to fix it anyway. I tell them not to, and explain why I know it will take a professional. Same as with my father-in-law. I go to do something else, and before I know it, they've cut the main water to fix the pipes. I go tell them to stop, and they don't. Short of me physically pushing them away, I try everything to stop them. No luck. Exactly as I had planned though, the problem can only be fixed by a professional, and long story short, they mess things enough that we have to cut the water to the whole house until a plumber can be called. It's Sunday night, so I only got someone coming around the next morning. I had to dip into the structural changes savings fund to pay the plumber, and the long-term issue with the pressure is still there. We still have to replace the pipe someday. Again, I was furious at my dad and uncle, and they didn't even apologise. Example 3. My mum was over this week. She was making food in a very nice iron pan we have that we've been seasoning for over a year. This means the bottom of the pan is blackened. If this was a Teflon pan, it would be a sign it's unusable, but for an iron pan, it means it's just right. I told that to my mum multiple times, but would not believe me and tried to scrub off the seasoning behind my back, causing small specks to go into the food. Again, these are not dangerous, but we do need to redo the seasoning on the pan now. She nearly destroyed the pan and would not believe me until I made her read the manufacturer's website. I'm a very conflict-avoiding person. It's already taking a lot of going against my nature to stand up to all these people and say, "No, don't do that," but I do it every time. I'm sure there's an element of sexism here. This only happens when my boyfriend isn't home. I want to figure out how to make myself more assertive, and for all these people to just listen to me in my own home. I'm tired of getting steamrolled, and I'm coming to dread those visits. Okay, so first of all, her dad and uncle need to pay for that plumber because it was their fault. The father-in-law just sounds like an adrenaline-seeking idiot, and the mum maybe thinks she knows better. I know deep down the excuse for all of these people is that they're just trying to help, but if someone disrespected me in my own home the way OP's family has, they wouldn't be invited back. Me, 34 female, with my significant other 43 male of 1 year, are having major issues and I just find him texting other women. Okay, so I'll try to keep this succinct. I've known my significant other for 14 years. I met him at a job I had and he started sending me emails in the office. We went on one date, he obviously wasn't convinced and promptly stopped contacting me in favour of the temp sitting next to me. Over the years, he stayed in touch and sent me messages, some of which are sexual, and I've basically told him to just do one because I'm not interested, and I really wasn't either. 1 year ago, however, I entertained a conversation with him and found out that he lived down the road from me in a tiny village. Weird or what? At the time, my own relationship was over and I was looking for a new place to live. I met him thinking it would just be interesting to meet after all this time and went out with him to walk his dog. It quickly became quite clear after just a few meets that there was something between us, and I immediately moved out to the next available house that I could find so we could start seeing each other properly. Nothing happened while I was living with my ex, except walks and a kiss. I basically fell hard. On the same day I moved into my new property, he stayed over for the first time. I was, to say the least, wounded when stuff happened and he simply turned over and went to sleep afterwards. I was already feeling majorly vulnerable, having never lived alone, spent my first night in a weird place having just left a long-term relationship, and also having been cautious of his previous history, given that he contacted me even when he'd had girlfriends. But I genuinely believed that this was all in the past. We talked about it, and he'd said he'd made a lot of mistakes, and that how he felt about me was different to how it was with any of his exes, except his first girlfriend. He messaged me constantly, was incredibly lovely and attentive, and I could see no wrong in him at all. Everything he said made complete sense, and he promised me he wasn't into messaging people randomly anymore. I told him early on I wouldn't tolerate it. In any case, I was extremely anxious and overly analytical of things, but despite this, he kept seeing me even though he obviously found it hard work and it started causing issues. And on a couple of occasions he even turned around and said he couldn't do this anymore. I always talked him round though, and he didn't leave, but it didn't help my anxiety knowing that he would walk away just like that. It became apparent to me that he was generally not that affectionate. He didn't like to hug, snuggle, kiss me, or be flirty in real life the way he did over text. And in fact, he is far more affectionate with his dog, who comes everywhere with him, and who he co-parents with his ex. Which was also a bit of a problem for me, but I eventually accepted it and realised there was nothing to worry about. Over time, the messaging tailed off as things got more routine with us, and so did the reassurance that things were okay and I was still loved. But I still remembered that he was okay to just walk away just like that, despite loving me so much and being bonkers about me, and me being his soulmate. After several months of him seeing me on weekends while we lived apart, he moved back to his parents to save for a house. We viewed a house together, to rent, and talked about children in the future. I knew he couldn't have kids of his own, but didn't care. I was happy to go through IVF, which he'd already tried unsuccessfully with his ex, who also has fertility issues. I just really didn't care about challenges like that because I felt so strongly for him. It felt like things were moving fast, but after 6 years of wasting my time with someone, it was a dream come true for me. And him being in his 40s, I wouldn't expect him to wait for years if things were right, which he said they were with us. We moved in together, and I expected that he might be more affectionate with me. But nada, he wasn't, and he still continued to spend weekends falling asleep early after drinking wine and eating dinner, when in my mind I wanted to be whisked off to bed or to snuggle up and watch a film. When I brought it up with him, he told me he'd leave because it was clear there was a big issue and I needed constant reassurance and someone all over me all the time. He wouldn't entertain a discussion about it. I struggle with this greatly. As a result, I get anxious and try to discuss it with him, which he sees as me bringing up issues and causing drama, and says he doesn't want his life to be this way. In a whole year we've been together, he hasn't ever taken me out for a meal, and the dog goes pretty much everywhere with us unless she's with his ex, who picks him up from our house once a week. If I hug him or try to be affectionate with him, the dog jumps between us, but I don't have a problem with her, she's just a dog and doesn't know better. I really wanted to go to Scotland for a holiday, but we went to Wales because he said it was a long drive. One argument I had with him was because he said he hated going on planes, and I feel frustrated with the prospect of never going overseas. When you love someone, you want to do things with them, but it feels like it's all around what he wants to do, and the ability to take the dog who he sits and hugs, strokes and fusses in front of me copiously while I get a slap on the bum and called a dork if I'm lucky. I spend my days walking the dog with him, at the pub with him, or watching TV with him. We never do anything just us, and the only time I get kissed is when he wants to sleep with me. While we were away on our holiday, all of this got the better of me and I went through his phone. I know it was wrong. Very wrong. I found messages to a woman from Plenty of Fish that were flirty but not sexual. I found Snapchats from him to 2 women asking if they were okay, and they aren't talking to him now. I realised that things are seriously on the rocks here and confronted him. He got angry and threatened to leave me there in Wales and started packing his things. I begged him not to. I understood why and still completely do. I was completely wrong with what I did, but now I can't get these messages out of my mind. I don't know who these people are, why he's messaging them, and what to do next. I don't think I can ever trust him, and I've always wanted attention and to give him attention, so why does he need it from elsewhere? Perhaps it's due to his fertility issues. I don't know. I really do love this man, and I'll get people saying it's not working, forget it, but some thoughtful advice would really help because this is messing me up. I did try to ask him who the people were, and he said they're nobody of significance, just people he met online. I don't understand why he'd do this when he's gone as far as talking to me about children and we've moved in together. It's just beyond me. It's been a year. He's 43 and he's not going to change his ways. I would love to give some insightful advice that this could possibly work, But you told him at the start of your relationship that you wouldn't condone him messaging other people behind your back, and he's done it. So you need to put your foot down and find someone who wants to snuggle up with you on the sofa and watch movies. Basically, you can do better. My 28 female, husband 30 male, is suddenly not pulling his weight around the house. My husband and I have been married for less than 6 months, together for 3 years. We have lived together before and chores were never an issue. He chose his tasks and I chose mine, and we both did them regularly. The house was clean and I was happy. Last semester was stressful on both of us. One of our dogs became terminally ill. We were in the process of moving. Our wedding was coming up. I was working full-time and doing school full-time. Things slipped around the house, understandably. My husband really stepped up and took on some things that I didn't have time to do, even though they were my chores. I am so grateful for him. However, after the move, it seems like he isn't doing anything. We're both not working yet. We'll start in August, and we've been in the new place about 3 weeks. I have done all the work of getting us furniture that we were missing, or as replacements for what we had sold before we moved, setting up our utilities, and figuring things out like trash day. I've stocked the pantry, cleaned the bathrooms, done laundry and general cleaning several times now. He's done the dishes once, after I cried that I didn't feel appreciated for basically planning the move, setting up the new home, and keeping it running smoothly. We've had this conversation over and over in the past few months. I am de facto the household manager, and I don't want to be. I want him to be a real adult and notice the things that need taken care of and just do it. I've started to think that I could live on my own and not feel resentful with the amount of household labour I do. I'm going to be full-time again in August and I'm worried. I told my husband I understand if things go a little longer than usual come fall, but it won't bother me as long as laundry is in the basket and dishes are in the sink, not scattered wherever. It's already not happening. I try to leave things so he has to do them, but that's passive aggressive and it's not helping anyway. The dishes wherever just irritate me and I don't know what to do. I've asked him directly to do things. He says he will, then doesn't. I've asked him what he's going to do around the house. He picks things and then doesn't do them. I tell him I'm frustrated with doing everything. He says, I appreciate the work you've done, and then nothing else. He is capable and knows how to do things. When he finds something online he wanted, he arranged to meet with the owner to purchase it, but I asked him to finish getting the last few things we needed, a vacuum and some shelves, and it didn't happen. He bought a lawnmower, mowed the backyard, decided it was broken, and hasn't tried to fix it. I don't know what else to do. I feel disrespected and almost inferior, like he gets to use this time to do the things he wants and I'm the one still taking care of everything behind the scenes. Like he gets to live in a nice place that's clean and comfortable but doesn't have to do any of the work. I want an equal partnership. Please help me. One big red flag for me is that chores were something that he was perfectly happy doing before. They had that partnership and equality and now something's changed. I would be worried that OP's husband is going through something like depression possibly and can't find the willpower to carry out these tasks. And then he's also facing his wife's frustration, which could be making things worse. Hopefully OP and her husband sit down and have a big talk about everything and are able to sort it out. Okay, so that's all for r/relationships. I really hope you did enjoy it. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. My Twitter, Discord and Patreon links are in the description, and any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.